Picture this, you're working on a pretty big Lego build and you really want to get it finished. So you decide to enter a mock contest 2.5 weeks before the deadline. You have to build something completely different and it needs to be bigger than a standard 32 by 32 stud base plate. So yeah, that's basically what happened. Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Epicapig 101. For the past couple weeks, I've been working on this project right here. It is finally finished, and I'm so excited to show you guys the final product. The reason why I built this in the first place was so I could enter it into First Order LEGO's mock contest. If you haven't heard of him at this point, I don't know why you wouldn't have. I mean, he's an absolute legend. It was really fun working on this build, and to give me a better chance of winning, I tried to challenge myself with the techniques I used, and the parts I used, and all that jazz. So without further ado, let's check this thing out. So this scene actually comes from a video game called Star Wars Battlefront. It's pretty well known, you've probably heard of it before, and it's a really fun game. It's the game that kinda got me into Xbox. So one of the maps in the game is from the planet Sullust. I'm not sure if that planet actually exists or is ever mentioned in the Star Wars movies or shows, but it looks really cool and I decided to build it. If you really take a look at the landscape of the planet in the game, you'll notice that there's not much to look at. It's basically just rocks and more rocks. So I decided to give this build a bit of a twist, and I added a few things that I thought would fit into the environment. I also decided to add the remains of what could have been a village before the Empire came to the planet and took over. So, taking in a general overview of the MOC, you'll see that it's basically a bunker with some terrain and some lava, and there's also a small battle taking place. Let's start off with the terrain. I've used mixel joints in my terrain in the past, but never to this scale. To really make the terrain stand out, I wanted to build it as weirdly as possible, if that makes any sense. As you can see, the bottom layer of the terrain uses a lot of mixel joints to give it this natural looking curve. In this section, I just plonked in pieces where they would fit, and all throughout the terrain, if there were ever any open areas left between the rocks, I would fill them up with vines or lampposts. I also used a lot of weird pieces, like this large curved slope, this piece which would normally be used for cars, and some Unikitty tails. While the rocks are mostly gray on the right side of the build, on the left side they fade into being black because of the lava. I tried to get a smooth transition between the gray and the black, and even took advantage of this strip that belongs to the bunker, making the left side of it also appear burnt. I'm pretty happy with how the lava turned out. I just wish I'd been able to give it a better flow and not have it come down the mountain in these even steps. But I think the lava itself is really nice, and I included some color transitions from yellow to orange to red. Once the lava had made it all the way up to the roof of the bunker, I didn't really know what to do with it, so it just kinda stops, but the Star Wars movies don't understand physics either, so I think I'm safe. Apart from all these rocks, the terrain features quite a bit of foliage, and as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to add some foliage so the entire MOC doesn't just feel like a bland, desolate piece of rock. There's some flowers in a couple places, a few vines, and some groups of leaves that kinda look burnt or dead, and I was able to find some cool ways to attach these. For the tree, I took all the dark blue leaf pieces I could find and attached them to this trunk, which uses a flex tube. There's some roots creeping out, which I absolutely love. I think the whip pieces work super well for them, and I knew I wanted to include the tree somewhere in the build, and originally it was actually going to go over here on the left side, but when I was filling in this portion of terrain, I couldn't find a clean way to connect the rockwork with this chunk of broken wall, so I decided to fill it in with the tree. Speaking of the wall chunk, this part here is only one small piece of the village which used to stand here. The other parts left standing are included over here. I wanted to include these parts to show that there was once a village on the planet, but it was destroyed to make way for the Empire. I also added part of a broken fence made up of Harry Potter wands and these pieces. As you'll notice, the bunker has three main parts: the hangar, the left side, and the right side. It's also got this little strip at the front, so let's get started with that. I wanted to use grill pieces, but I didn't want those weird bumps you get when you place grill pieces on top of studs, so instead I placed them on top of tiles and now it looks super clean. In order to get this design, I also had to fit some light gray tiles in between each chunk of grill pieces. The outer strip leads to a nice clean strip of white tiles, followed by another intricate design which makes use of cheese slopes. By placing down the cheese slopes on their sides, I was able to make these epic shapes. Behind that section are 8 chunks of dark gray flooring, each one made up of several floor tiles. This design is almost the inverse of the design I used for the grill section, as the inner chunks are lower than their surrounding tiles rather than higher. I wanted to transfer this same technique over to the walls, and once again I was able to combine some sections popping out and some sections fading back. To accomplish this, I used some headlight bricks with a layer of plates and a layer of tiles for the light gray sections, and some simple brick-built pillars for the dark gray sections. To fill up the space inside the hangar, I included 3 smaller light gray crates stacked on top of each other next to some heavy-duty light tan crates that are just chilling in this little crate stacker thing. I didn't really want the ceiling of the hangar to be completely bare, so I added this messy contraption of pipes and metal rods, something that looks like it could definitely belong in the Star Wars universe, and I think it adds a nice little bit of detail. Now let's move on to the outside of the bunker. In order to make this rather loose piece more stable, I had to connect it to the roof of the hangar, which I did in quite an interesting way. I used these 2 rounded tiles that, when put together, allow you to build off both ends. I used those pieces to my advantage and built some more stuff around them, and I really think this looks like it could be from Star Wars. On the right side, there's some loose scaffolding, which you can actually find in the Sullust map in Star Wars Battlefront, plus some interwoven blue lights or windows that you always see in Star Wars, and on the left side, there's some more bunker. Placing in the minifigures was a super fun part of this build, and I wanted to create a battle scene. Inside the bunker are a stormtrooper and a rebel who are just having a duel, and there's also a stormtrooper rappelling down from the ceiling, which I just absolutely love, I don't know why. And then outside of the bunker are a bunch of other minifigs running around in a few different poses, and this guy's, taking a nap. There's also another stormtrooper climbing down from the top of the bunker, and a rebel pilot coming in from the left side who's just crashed his ship and is coming to help. Anyways, that was the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed both the build and the video. I've really been trying to up my game lately in terms of both video quality and in terms of the MOC itself, so if anything stood out to you guys, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for some more updates on the Morak Refinery coming very soon. I'm gonna go take this thing apart now, and I'll see you next time.